So we're going to start with the webinar, and I'm first going to introduce Rebecca. She isn't a grumpy nurse anymore because she could implement virtual reality in her treatments. And she will tell you about why she started using virtual reality on clients, on patients, and that she even evolved that into a real clinic so people can come there for VR therapy. And it's located in the UK, but she can tell you all about it. And my name is Kiki Coppelmans. I'm the co-founder of InMotion VR, and we created a virtual reality rehab platform that combines smart technology and VR to help people recover in the clinic and at home. But my background is I'm a psychosomatic physical therapist, so we blend the physical and the mental part into VR to get the best results for your patients. But I will also share a little bit of our story later on. But first, Rebecca may start on telling how she started with VR therapies.
Okay, hello everyone. So thank you, Kiki, for the lovely introduction. My name's Rebecca Gill and I'm the founder of Virtual Reality Therapies. So we're based in the United Kingdom and we were set up a few years ago. We were originally set up as a social enterprise, so we're there to help people. We're not a private business. Our mission is to bring it to the community and to really help people with VR therapies. And as you can see, we're an innovative company. We're helping people tick off their bucket list, break through the boundaries, and all these exciting things that are possible through virtual reality. Go to the next slide. So this is just a little bit of information about me. So I'm a registered learning disabilities nurse here in the UK, and I obviously am working as a VR therapist now. Most of my career has been within brain injury rehabilitation, neurodegenerative conditions, complex health needs. I've got quite a range of experience in different services. And this is really what I bring to VR therapies and what excites me most about how VR can help all these different areas. And there's so many different benefits for so many different conditions. As you can see in the photo on the left, that's us at the United Nations, where we won an award for our work with people with disabilities. And the one on the right is where I won an award with the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. So we're very much a startup in the early days. We're doing it ourselves. We've not got a big company behind us. We are just a small team of 3 that are kind of paving the way for people with disabilities. So this is just a bit about our vision. The latest medical and therapeutic advances in technology should be available to the very children and adults that they're designed for. So it shouldn't be just for the people already in hospital, where it's already at that worst case scenario where they've ended up in hospital. It shouldn't just be for the people that can afford the technology. And it shouldn't be just for those that are physically able. So it should be available for everybody, regardless of your financial situation or your physical disability. And often the people that are benefiting the most from these are the people that are least likely to access it. And that's what I find the most motivating, and that's what I'm passionate about, is getting it to the community and the people that will benefit from it. So this is a little bit about the medical benefits behind VR, and this is really what motivated me to start this. There's amazing benefits across the board for so many different health conditions. So we can use it within depression and stress and anxiety and for a vast variety of mental health conditions. We can use mindfulness and meditation and help build up those skills that they can transfer to the home. It doesn't have to be through VR. They can develop these skills and these therapies and be able to transfer it into the real world and the real life and where it will benefit them most. We can also help people with chronic pain, and that has been one of the best things for me, is seeing people report that they're feeling less pain, they're breathing easier, they're smiling more, and they feel better in themselves on a day-to-day basis. And that is so important for people that have chronic health conditions. You know, there's not a magic wand that we can wave to cure people, But with VR, we can really make a difference to their everyday life. And there's just a little bit there about some of the studies that have happened. So for me, as a learning disabilities nurse, I absolutely loved when I found out about this specific research. This is a very big unit that has a lot of people with learning disabilities, and they found that 82% showed a considerable improvement after using therapeutic VR on a regular basis. Now, for people with learning disabilities, they've traditionally not been able to access the kind of latest in technology and equipment, and they can be more of a difficult client group to work with. I've worked with a lot of challenging behaviour, people that have a dual kind of mental health condition and a learning disabilities as well. And VR is a way to access some of these people that are more challenging to traditional healthcare services. And we've had fantastic response across the board. We've worked with people with autism as well, and we've helped people that have communicational difficulties, people with anger management problems and phobias. You know, it's across the board. There's many different things. Move on to the next slide, please. So this is just a little photo of some of the people that we've ended up working with. And what surprised me the most was actually the benefits to the elderly population as well. Most people think of technology being for young people and for, you know, the youthful of society, but actually we've had amazing results with the elderly. So people that are suffering dementia, Alzheimer's, they've really embraced this new technology. Through VR, it means that we can help them tick off their bucket lists. They can travel around the world. They can do the things that their physical body doesn't allow them to do anymore, or the things that they're running out of time to be able to do. So sadly, the photo in the top right of the lady that's undergoing chemotherapy and cancer treatment, she'd always wanted to swim with dolphins. And I am so proud of the fact that I was able to bring this experience to her. And there's nothing that's going to compare to doing it in real life. You know, if you can go swimming with dolphins, fantastic, go and do it. But that's not an opportunity for all of us, you know. And for people like this that are too poorly to leave the hospice, it means that we can bring this opportunity to them. Or if they don't want to do that, they can go walking around the jungles. They can go and stroke elephants. They can go and, you know, visit the, you know, streets of New York. They can tick off all the different bucket lists. They can even go and walk on the moon. You know, it's only limited by your imagination, the different experiences. And Jo in the bottom right, she's one of my old patients that I worked with for many, many years. And one of the first things that she wanted to try through VR was roller coasters. And to a lot of people, this is one of the, you know, silly kind of games in it. But for Jo, that was on her bucket list. She'd always wanted to go on a roller coaster. And due to the nature of her physical disabilities, she was never able to do that. But with VR, we could tick that off the list. And she was beaming. She was smiling for weeks afterwards. That made such a difference to her daily life. She was feeling more relaxed. She wasn't feeling the aches and pains that she normally gets. You know, she was waking up every day with a smile on her face, and she couldn't wait to tell people how on Monday I went on a roller coaster, I went swimming with dolphins, and then I popped over to a jungle and I went and visited some giraffes. You know, who can say that for their average day? And being able to bring these benefits to all these different types of patients and people, you know, it's a fantastic experience as a nurse. If you go on to the next slide, we can show you a little bit about what we're doing now. So the previous photos were my community sessions, but this is our centre that we're finally opening in the United Kingdom. And as you can see in the right-hand side, there's some goggles that you can see dolphins through. And this blew my mind when I first saw it. These are underwater VR headsets. So you can use them in the water, and when you look through them, you can see the dolphins swimming around you. So you can be in the water, feeling the water and relaxing and getting the benefits of your hydrotherapy. And you can see dolphins swimming all around you. It is an incredible experience. So we've combined that in our centre. We've got hydrotherapy with underwater VR. You can go swimming with dolphins in the middle of the United Kingdom, where we don't have dolphins just available like they do in the Bahamas. We've also got wheelchair accessible driving simulators. So for this lovely gentleman, Jonathan, these photos are literally from last week. He got to experience driving for the very first time. And for other people, they might have phobias with driving. Maybe they've had a road traffic accident and they're scared to get behind the wheel. This gives them that opportunity to work through that phobia in a safe environment. You know, it's a lot easier to progress and experience these things when you're safely within VR. And across the board, you can see all different ages, different abilities, different races. It doesn't matter what culture you're from, you know, swimming with dolphins is a universally loved experience. And the thing that I'm most passionate about, as it said, is being inclusive and accessible. Everything we do is in mind for people with disabilities, and it's, you know, it's something that's accessible on a community level. It doesn't matter where you're from, how much money you've got, you know, we are there to help the community. And as a nurse, it's been a fantastic experience bringing this opportunity to so many people. And I'm really excited to be able to tell you more about what we're doing and answer some of the questions. But that's just a quick overview of where we are and what we're doing.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Rebecca. It was a great introduction of your passion and VR therapies. If I can add to the experience on using VR, we came with the solution to use virtual reality in physical rehabilitation, but also more on the mental side. And that's because of the experience as a psychosomatic physical therapist that you encounter patients with sometimes complex issues, complex complaints. And due to the recovery, which is holding back due to different thoughts, due to chronic pain, due to behavioral issues, it's very important that you get those patients more engaged into invest in their own health. And if you look at normal physical therapy, you have a one-on-one contact, or in group therapy, you have sometimes some manual additions, but the important part is that things you change or you want to change also has to do with active movement. People need to train not only when they're in the clinic or in the private practice, but they also need to train at home. If you want to run a marathon, you're not going to get there by training 1.5 hour a week. So a lot of people only have 1.5 hour a week of therapy. So how do you get those patients engaged in their own recovery? And sometimes videos aren't enough. Out of research you see that 67% of patients don't do the exercise, even if they watch a video. And the most important part is that they're focused on their complaints, their stiffness and their pain, and it's not that nice to exercise. And the other part is that if they see a video and they doubt if they're doing the exercises right, people are not going to do it. So it's important that if you can give them a tool which let them play games and in the meanwhile they do their exercises, it's much more fun to do. But if you then also can visualize what people are doing and what they are gaining in those games, then one and one is 3. Then you get people engaged. And how we do it is that we use a VR headset in combination with a tablet, and the tablet is the dashboard for the therapist. You can use it in the one-on-one confrontation in the clinic, but you can also use the dashboard to make a personal training plan for your patient, and the patient is doing the treatment and the training at home, also on the VR glass. And therefore they only need access to the hardware and the app, and you link it with a PIN code, so you have a direct connection to send exercises and to see back if your patient has been doing, could he or she do the exercises, and how well do they do it. By combining virtual reality in a certain way that we also can connect other hardware, so movement sensor or biofeedback, we can even give more insights and more consciousness on stress, on how they deal with stress, how people deal with pain, and if they are doing that they can also do exercises not alone for the cervical spine, but also for the trunk, for the arm, for the leg. So using virtual reality comes with using a VR headset, but you can also add other technologies to make it even a broader scope of training. And also with controllers for your hands, so you can train your shoulder, your arm and shoulder, or like the special edition Rebecca told about. You have a waterproof VR headset. So there are already different ways on what you can implement into your practice. And out of our own mission, we really would like to empower people worldwide to take control over their own health by providing digital virtual therapy. And at home, people can train with their own smartphone in a VR headset or with standalone VR headsets. And if you look at the market, you could think, how do people get a headset? You have to think about the same way smartphones have risen into the market. So at the beginning, there were a few people who have it. Now almost everyone has a smartphone. And we also see about research in a commercial way that the adoption of VR technology is exponential every year. So it grows very, very rapidly and fast. So in no time, a lot of people already would have a possibility to use VR in their own home setting. And the other part is that you can, for VR therapies, that you help the community and create awareness and use VR, that you have VR headsets you can use in the community. And in the Netherlands, we are busy to get the headsets provided through companies who help people at home with crutches or a bed, so they can stay downstairs. They don't have to go up into their own bedroom if they are not capable of getting up to the stairs. So it's also thinking about how you get easy access for people to hardware. So those are all things to to take in account. And what I already was telling is combine virtual reality with smart sensors. So eventually the total body, that's our aim, our big hairy goal, to train the total body in virtual reality in the clinic, private practice, and at home. So to have some idea which people are talking about VR and what we are doing, I hope we give a good summary and we go further into the questions on, okay, how and what do you need to really get it implemented in your therapy or in your practice. Okay. I am making it a little bit smaller, but if we still have the questions not that easily readable, then I'll make the screen big again. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you, Rebecca, is how do you ensure that we can deploy these applications on a structural base, and how do we need to think about what do we need to think about if we want to use VR and to get it to the community in the clinic? How do you look at it?
So for us, our biggest barrier has been financial. So to be able to do this, you need money at the end of the day. You need the funding in place to be able to buy the headsets, the software, to get that system up and running. There's so many other aspects involved in it. The maintenance, having the staff, having the training in place. You need a whole team to be able to do this. It's not something that you can just start doing out of your bedroom. You know, you need to have space to be able to do it on a professional level. You need to have health and safety considered, infection control considered. You know, in light of COVID, that's a very big, obviously hot topic with us. But at the end of the day, you really need to be focused on your patient and what's best for them, what they are going to benefit. So looking at the medical research that's available. And if you work in a very specific niche area, it's using your professional expertise and combining that with the technology that's out there. And for me, that's been one of the most exciting parts, really, is actually combining the traditional therapies that are already available with these latest technologies and the latest advancements, and, you know, combining immersive technology. There's not just virtual reality, there's augmented reality, mixed reality. We've got biofeedback that Kiki's mentioned, and I find that so exciting that we can combine those together and actually look at people's physiological response to these experiences. And that helps give you, more experience, more knowledge and understanding in how to implement it. You can see what is actually working on a physiological level, what's helping reduce their stress. And with this, you should always be working, moving forward, responding to what the client needs, what the patient needs, what's benefiting them, what is making that difference.
Yeah. I really also address the same issues. If you look at the practical side in the clinic or in a healthcare setting, is what you also said, hygienic. So it's important to have a plan how you are going to address as a team those headsets. When do you clean the headsets? Is it we have a protocol that you clean it before you even put it back into the cage, and if you get it out, you clean it, and before you give it to your patient, you clean it again. And you clean it with alcohol. You have really different covers you can put in the VR headset. You can clean with alcohol. Always be cautious with the lenses, of course. And you even have some headsets that you can take off the straps and you can wash them and then put them back. Or they're from silicone, so you can also clean that very well. So there are already different kinds of ways to get it really cleaned. And there are also boxes like Clean Box VR or UV Smart, so you can also put the headsets in a box. It takes 1 minute and it gets clean with UV radiation and air. So there are different kinds of ways to really ensure that part. And what we also see is, especially with our product, because we combine a tablet and a VR headset, which uses Wi-Fi, that you also need to take time to get ICT in place. And with hospitals, it's a little different story than with private practices, but everything comes together with time. So you need to invest time to get VR adapted and implemented in a on a daily day base. And it starts with making sure that ICT is in place. With a lot of headsets, you need Wi-Fi to download apps or even to actively use apps. Even you already downloaded them, so you need, for instance, Wi-Fi in your practice. The other part is that have the protocol of hygienic in place and teach the therapists who are going to use it. And at the beginning, who are your patients? So which content do you need to learn and to use in the daily day practice? So it's not yet a product that you buy and it's plug and play. No, it's a product you are going to use in your clinic with your own specialty, with your own expertise, and the virtual reality is an addition on your expertise. It's helping your patients to get more engaged, but it's also helping your therapy to become more effective, or you can treat other patients also. So it's very important to take into account that it's an implementation, and sometimes also a little bit behavioral change to think more. That you have to think about, okay, which patients are going to use Corpus VR or other VR therapies today. Okay, I'm going to use it on this and this and this patient, and then do it, and not start with your day and then after the day you think, oh my God, I could have used VR. No, you have to start thinking about it before you see the patients. Yes, and also, of course, the training. Take into account what we also see in starting up with VR. Have 2, max 3 therapists dedicated on starting with VR, and then the rest will come. If you have a team of 12 and you teach 12 therapists to use it, or caregivers, they don't feel responsible of doing it. So make 2 or 3 people responsible that they're going to implement it, and that's a higher rate of success to do it like this, to do it like that. Yeah. So the other question, Rebecca, is who are the important stakeholders, and why do we have to think about them? So we're not only talking about patients and clients. So who are there also we have to take into account too?
So for us, this was a big learning experience, especially for me as a nurse. I've never thought of stakeholders, and I just do my work as a nurse and I'm there to help that patient or that service user. But for us to actually get up and running and to really make a difference, we need to collaborate with so many different people, and we need to take their opinion and their experience, and working with the initial developers and the people that create the VR. They're not generally doctors and nurses. They're the techie people, they're the scientific minds. They're the gamers that have grown up passionate and have got brilliant ideas for how to create these things. And together with our clinical experiences and our expertise, we can then make such amazing therapies possible. But then we also have to collaborate with, for us in the UK, the NHS, or for in your country, whatever kind of the health organisation or system is. At the end of the day, they're going to be the ones that are probably going to pay for the service. So if they're offering it at the hospital, if they're the ones paying for it, you need to see what is important to them, what their focuses are, what their priorities. And as a nurse, for me, I could see that there was a lack of hydrotherapy in our local area. So I knew that the underwater VR with hydrotherapy would make an amazing difference. But for other towns and other areas, they've got different priorities. So I know that in other areas, they've got more of a focus on cancer treatment and chemotherapy. So VR has an amazing, benefit within that, and helping people cope with, difficult traumatic experiences and helping with their pain. So for them, they've got a different view of what they need VR for. And for us as the therapist, it's working with them to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the patient and meeting the needs of the organisation paying for it. And it took me a long time to get my head around the fact that I had to work in this kind of business lingo with stakeholders and business plans and, market research and focus groups and these sort of things, and making sure that at the end of the day, we need that to make sure it's beneficial for the people that we're working for. So you need to contact the developers, you need to contact the NHS, you need to contact the engineers, the people that are implementing it, making it, the policy holders. That there's lots of key people in each country that have different expertise, and it's only through that collaboration you're going to make a truly effective therapeutic program.
Yeah. So, and at the end, when we have all those things together, then we can also show, and in the Netherlands, it's a little bit different with insurance companies. They won't directly pay for it. It can be done, but we have to change the total healthcare path. So, and therefore we need to start using technology to show the insurance companies how you can address digital therapy, because they are so in their own comfort zone, and how they pay caregivers, physical therapists, rehab centers, that it's very difficult for them to think, okay, where and how are we going to reimburse digital care? So they're also inventing the wheel on how to do it. And I think it's important that as a therapist or as a practice, you also you envision that technology, VR, AR, will be an important part of your daily practice. And that's not now. You have to foresee for the future that we already have a lot of patients. We have more patients than we can give care to. Certainly due COVID and due all the treatments that are delayed, and so there are a lot of people we have to help, and that only becomes more due to the elderly population, which is growing exceptional. So we have to think about how are we going to address that, and we have to re-educate our patients, but you also have to re-educate the insurance companies, and that's very strange because we are bound on contracts with insurance companies, but they're at the same time also asking, okay, how are we going to do this? So if we can make, with a lot of practices and rehab centers, a base on this is how you implement digital care, and we give that back to the insurance companies, then we can change things. But that takes all stakeholders to work together. Yeah. So we're not there yet, but we have to start and build it. Yeah. Okay. So what another stakeholder which is important are ambassadors to implement digital therapies, virtual reality in the therapy. And sometimes you have to be in front and be confrontive on how it could work, even if evidence isn't already available on every level. There's already a lot of evidence, a lot of research, but not on every level. So we need also time to build on that. Yeah. Okay. Next one. Yes. What obstacles are there? We have already talked about it a little bit. So what obstacles are there, and how can we move them together? Yeah.
So for us, and for me personally, one of the obstacles that I'm really working on fighting is the accessibility problem. So a lot of technology is not designed in mind for people with disabilities, sadly. So not only is it us trying to tweak it and kind of manipulate it for our uses, we're having to look at what's already available and manipulate it for how it will benefit our end user. But through our work and collaboration, like we're saying, we're changing people's viewpoints. We're opening up that conversation with those stakeholders to let them know that actually there's a big demographic out here that will benefit from this technology. And if you just made these slight little changes, it would make such a difference. And you'll be able to get more money through selling it to all these other people. So at the end of the day, everyone benefits from it. And there's already been some amazing advances with those things. So things like hand tracking and eye tracking are fantastic for people with disabilities. And these were designed for the gamers. This wasn't designed in mind for someone that's had a stroke and hasn't got use of one of their arms. They were designed for the Beat Sabers and the things where you're making music and playing games. But using that technology for the therapies is fantastic, and through together we can help fight so many different obstacles, and it'll only improve the content and the access that's out there. And another big one is the financial obstacle. So for us as an organization, we had to get the funding together, we had to do lots of grant applications, lots of bid writing, a lot of networking, collaborating with the stakeholders. It's going back to that kind of business mentality that you do need to have to be able to implement it on a wide scale. And as things progress, things are getting more accessible financially. So companies like Oculus have made it more mainstream. So it is now cheaper to be able to buy a headset. So more of the general population is starting to buy them for personal use. And that is also your nurses and your doctors, and their families, their children, they're buying headsets and playing with them. So it starts getting their brains thinking like, hold up, this would actually be brilliant for some of the poorly children in hospital. It's a lot easier to tolerate your chemotherapy if you're distracted by a fantastic experience or game. So through raising awareness and through education and things, it just helps tackle all of these different obstacles, really.
Yeah, that's correct. So the important part is to get more adoption of VR headset into the market. There's a role for it takes time. That's one part, but the other part is how can you, as a practice, help people loan headsets. Sometimes we also have practices that buy headsets and they rent it to people. So that also gives a business case for physical therapy practices or rehab centers to get also another income out of it. That could also be interesting, but it's another way of thinking and working. The other part is that the other obstacle we also encounter is behavioral part. When COVID was having dreadful experience on everyone, and we had to close down also the private practices and the rehab centers, we couldn't see any patients. And then the urgency to reach patients at home was very high. And there we also saw a lot of upselling and increase of using video consulting. That's also part of digital therapy. And also the uses of VR and helping people on a distance, remote care. So you saw positive results of it. Everybody had a lot of people had a positive experience due to the caregivers, but mostly also the patients. They really loved it. And the patients want to continue that part, but most of the caregivers, if things came back to normal, you tend to go back into your comfort zone. So a part of urgency is also important, that we have to create awareness about, that we have to think about investing in how are we going to deal with the future. Even if the direct urgency isn't yet there yet, but we felt all of it in those months we had to close down our practices. So keep that in mind. That's a very important motivation to change how you work and use digital virtual reality therapy. And the other part is it's difficult to implement new things, even VR. It's splendid to use in your therapy, but you need to make time to get used to it, get used to using the hardware and what you can do with the software. So that's very important. If you want to start with it, make time for it. Otherwise, you're not going to get a good implementation in your practice. So that's important. Yeah. But think you invest time in it and you invest money in it to get the results over time, and they will come. Yeah. Another part is the last question for now is what knowledge do you need within your organization in order to use VR?
So for us and our team, we've got a really brilliant kind of variety of knowledge and experience. So obviously myself, I'm a nurse. I've worked a lot with brain injuries, learning disabilities, and for people that are already accessing the rehabilitation services and are in and out of healthcare kind of services and appointments. But we've also got electrical engineers and technology, kind of like passionate people that have loved VR from the start and have got that scientific and engineering background. We've got Roz, who's a special needs teacher and has got fantastic experience within autism and supporting young people, and especially those with communicational difficulties and extra disabilities that might not necessarily be obvious, like autism and Asperger's and things. So together, all of our combined knowledge makes a really effective service where we can help a lot of people. But for me personally, I'm that kind of optimistic kind of soul that's like, as long as you're passionate, you can learn. You know, a few years ago, so 5 years ago, I'd never even tried VR. You know, it's not like we've been brought up on this technology. It's a new thing to everyone. So we're all starting from zero really with it. So you find the people out there that are working in it. You look for the passionate people that want to help create that tech for good or VR for good, and they will help you. They will point out the best kind of training programs that are out there. They'll tell you the books to read, the platforms to visit, the headsets to buy and to try it out yourself. You know, there's a really strong network of passionate, you know, enthusiastic people that want to make a difference in the world. And for me, working with them has been life-changing. It has opened my eyes to so many different benefits. And this is how I've really grown as a VR therapist. And I love the fact that I can say that, you know, I am a VR therapist, and I wouldn't be at this point if I hadn't have worked with all these amazing people around the world. And at the end of the day, you need to know your patient. That's the starting knowledge you need. You need to know what benefits they need, what is impacting their daily life, what is causing them pain, discomfort, what is, you know, impacting them doing the things that they want to do, what's holding them back, what they want to change. You know, it might be that you're focusing on one symptom, but actually for them, it's another symptom that's really making that difference and stopping them getting out and doing what they want to do. And also what excites them, what engages them, what they want to do, you know. So our work with palliative care and hospices, you know, for people that are on end of life care, what's on their bucket list, you know, what would make a difference to them. And it can be silly things sometimes. It might not be what you expect. So you need to have that conversation with them. You need to find out what's important to them. And then you can use VR with your professional experience to give them those benefits and those experiences. And you will see an amazing difference in them on a daily basis through working with them to achieve their goals and their dreams.
Yes, that's totally correct. I would summarize it that VR can help you get your patient in a positive health, in a positive mindset, and working on positive health. Instead of sickness, you go to a positive influence in their daily life, and you only know how to address it if you know what drives your patient and what is important for him or her, and train functional on that level to get people that they can engage in their own daily activities they really find important. What also is interesting is that if you know your strengths as a therapist, on that level you can enhance your therapy by VR. What is important is to know that in front, and with the content, so the software there is, try things out. See what is out there, and think, how can this help my patient? This is how it started for me. Yeah, I experienced VR and I thought, oh, relaxation and intrinsic motivation of movement. This is what I want to add to my therapy, because it helps my patients to get to their goals, to get engaged and get more focus on their own recovery. And in the meanwhile, when you're developing a product, then you will see, okay, where can it land? Where can therapists be helped more on a functional way, more on a manual way? Yeah? So the manual therapists with motor control impairment, or the psychosomatical physical therapists more on relaxation and biofeedback, that the therapy becomes easier for them to give, but the patients are getting more engaged, but also more after stroke or musculoskeletal problems. And if you know your strength, then you can see, okay, which education, which part of VR do I need to train and start with? And if you have that, I constantly have Dutch sayings in my head, but it's always stupid to tell in English. But when you get to the bottom of it and know how to use it in your own specialty, then you can step out and do other parts. But you need to start with some education on how to use it. And that takes time.
I love what you're saying about it being a positive treatment. And we find that so much that people actually want to engage and do their therapies. You know, they want to work on these issues because it doesn't feel like they're doing a boring treatment. They're not just going and, you know, sat there being told you need to do these exercises. Why aren't you doing these exercises? Instead, they're in this magical wonderland where they want to move around. They want to engage. They want to
They're not
use
thinking about the exercise. They're just doing it.
Yeah, and they're having fun and they're smiling, and you know, and there's such a therapeutic value in smiling. Like making someone happy it makes such a difference, and they're more likely to come back, and you know, they're not going to miss the next appointment if they're enjoying it and they're benefiting from it. And there's such a knock-on effect that if they can take that headset home, you know, with the poorly children, their families will probably try using the headset as well. So you've then got a knock-on effect for the families, the mums and dads, they're using the VR as well, and their stress levels are coming down. They're, you know, they're relaxing more, and that makes them feel better equipped to cope with those daily struggles that are impacting the whole family. You know, there is so many knock-on effects that it's such a fantastic tool within healthcare, and it's only going to become more wide, you know, mainstream adoption as the years progress, and especially with companies like ours that are getting out there. You know, we're really changing people's minds about using VR and the different benefits that are there. It's such a fantastic thing to do as a nurse. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So same here. And we can talk a lot about it. We notice. So we're already over time. So please, if you still have questions, you can ask them. And otherwise, you can also directly contact us. I will make it a little bit bigger. It's bigger is better sometimes. There it is. So you can reach Rebecca and getting more information on how to implement it, more on the patient level. How can you do it with people with autism, or with people after stroke, or with people to get them some distraction? You can contact her at rebecca@vrtherapies.co.uk. And if you want to know more about how to use it with physical rehabilitation in combination with mental issues, the psychosomatic complaints, or more the musculoskeletal rehabilitation, then contact Kiki at inmotionvr.com.
We've done well covering it all. Obviously.
I think we told a lot.
Oh, okay. You're welcome, everyone.
So thank you, everybody, and have a good evening.